Hi, I'm Greg Hunter, and this is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, September 6th, 2013. All eyes are on Syria and the United States and our possible attack on that country. Overwhelmingly, Americans are against it. Now, in the Senate, a small committee did vote 10-7 for military action. This was supposed to be limited military action. The action that they voted for, 60 days, maybe 90 days if needed. And this was only supposed to punish Bashar Assad and his regime for using chemical weapons. And it was not supposed to turn the tide of war. We didn't want to get involved in the Civil War. But yet, in the language in this military action, people like Lindsey Graham and John McCain, who want a wider war, got put in there. They wanted to change the momentum on the battlefield. That's one of the goals of this, to change the momentum on the battlefield. Sounds pretty open-ended to me. Most people are against it. And forget about the polls. If you listen to what people are doing when they call what they're saying when they call their congressman, their representative, it's overwhelmingly negative. And let's not talk about Republicans, because that some people may say that's partisan. They're partisan. They just want to see the president fail. Let's just talk about Democrats, people in the president's own party. And I have a smattering of people that covers the entire continental U.S. from sea to shining sea. Let's start with Dianne Feinstein in California. Senator from California. She's on a lot of important intelligence and military committees in the U.S. Senate. And she says, well, calls to my office are, quote, overwhelmingly negative against any kind of Syrian action. Overwhelmingly negative. And then there is Mark Pocan of Wisconsin. He's a definite no in the House of Representatives, also a Democrat. He says 15-1, don't do it. No. Negative. No. 15-1, no on Syrian military action. How about Alan Grayson in Florida? He says people in his district are vehemently opposed to it. Now, they may get something slipped through the U.S. Senate, but in the House of Representatives, military action in Syria is going to be voted down pretty decisively. And the Republicans who control the House of Representatives are going to get the help from at least 50 Democrats, in my humble opinion. They're going to vote it down pretty hard. America doesn't want to do this. Now, the White House says, well, even if the president doesn't get the vote he wants, he could still go ahead and take military action on his own. He doesn't need the Congress. I think he does. I think he does because they say in the past, the presidents they went into Grenada, they went into Panama, they've had other actions. The president himself went into Libya, and none of that stuff could have started World War III. This can. And don't think for 1 minute folks in Congress aren't worried that this could touch off World War III. The president is getting pushback from abroad as well, and I think the reasons are the same, whether it's in the country or outside the country. I think there are three big reasons. A, the proof. Yeah, they use chemical weapons. That's pretty obvious. I think that's true. But who used them? The Assad regime, the Russians, the Chinese. Even an AP reporter say, well, the rebels used them. It's the rebels that used chemical weapons. I mean, after all, Assad was winning. I mean, if they want to put a resolution in this that says change the momentum on the battlefield, the momentum was with Assad. Why would he say, how can he get the West really involved? I don't know, use chemical weapons. I don't think so. That doesn't make logical sense. So the proof is weak. Paul Craig Roberts brought up this week, he was a guest on USA Watchdog this week, and he said, hey, listen, if the Obama administration had proof, he would have given it to the Prime Minister of Great Britain, Cameron, and he'd have gotten a yes vote instead. Boom! A no vote in the UK Parliament. One of our staunchest allies. Nope, no military action from them. They're not helping us. The other thing that people want is a clear, definite plan and outcome. Why are you doing this? What are you going to do? And what's the outcome? You're going to do this, this, and this, and we're going to get this, this, and this. We're not getting that. We're getting some vague line about changing the tide, changing the momentum on the battlefield. But we're not getting that. The country is being embarrassed by this and isolated. Keep that in mind. We're being embarrassed, our prestige, and we're being isolated. People don't want to help us. And if you take a look at the other thing, the big reason why people don't want to do this is, and I've been talking about this for more than a year, because I talked about it in Libya. We put Al-Qaeda in Libya. And Benghazi, there was Al-Qaeda related group. Yeah, we put Al-Qaeda in Libya. Widely reported. Same thing with Syria. I guess maybe at some time the Free Syrian Army wasn't that much Al-Qaeda, but that's not today. And yet Kerry is out saying that, well, only 15 to 20% of the Free Syrian Army is Al-Qaeda. It's way higher than that. I mean, come on. John McCain went to Syria, and he got his picture taken with a couple of top Al-Qaeda representatives. He's the highest-ranking person from the United States to go there since Kerry had dinner with Assad in, 2009. And Al-Qaeda fighters and commanders are getting their picture taken with John McCain. Please. And even this is where the embarrassment comes in. Vladimir Putin, the leader of Russia, said of Kerry when he said, well, Al-Qaeda's not that, big of a component with the Syrian rebels. He said, he's lying. And he knows he's lying. It's sad. When's the last time you heard the leader of a major power call our Secretary of State a liar and then make out like some crazy little, disturbed child? He's lying. It's sad. Talk about a loss of prestige in the world. Nobody will help us, and the leader of Russia is telling our Secretary of State he's a liar, and it's sad. He knows he's lying. And to top it off, the New York Times, they're hardly a bastion of conservative right-wing journalism. The New York Times is coming out with a story about how the Al-Qaeda-backed rebels are executing prisoners. And they got it on videotape to boot, and it's gruesome. These are the people we want to put in power? The people that execute people on the battlefield and kill Christians? According to Rand Paul, at least Assad protects Christians. Al-Qaeda doesn't. This doesn't just affect our military or our prestige. It can affect our economy. Anybody notice that the 10-year Treasury shot up to 3% for 10-year Treasury? Now, some people may say, well, it's only 3%. Sounds pretty low to me. Yeah, well, it was 1.63% in the beginning of May. And now it's 3%, almost double. Mortgage rates are set on the 10-year Treasury. And now mortgage rates were below 3.5% in May. Beginning of May, late April. Now they're 4.6% about for 30-year. And it's not so much that that's a huge high rate, but in 4 months it went up a percent, a little more than 1%. Went up a lot in a short amount of time. That's the scary part. A lot in a short amount of time. And keep in mind, the Federal Reserve is printing $85 billion a month to try to suppress rates. They didn't taper. They didn't cut that back. And interest rates are going up. You think foreigners are selling our Treasury debt as fast as they can? I think so. And that could tip off a dollar rout. People could abandon the dollar en masse. That could cause high inflation here in a short amount of time here in the U.S. Speaking of high inflation, the G20. So you do realize what you're not hearing about the G20, which is an economic summit. Actually, 19 of the G20, they want to get rid of the dollar. They've been working for that for the last 5 years. They want to not trade in dollars. Why? Well, we've got a couple of huge problems that we're not addressing because of the Syria thing. We have a debt ceiling debate. We have to basically expand the debt ceiling so we can pay our bills, we can borrow some more money or print some more money. And we have a $17 trillion deficit and counting and sequestration and all that. We don't have a budget. I mean, the government could shut down. We could default on our creditors. At the very least, the dollar could take a big smackdown. And we could have pretty high inflation here in the U.S. And remember what I told you about the U.S. is isolated? And that the rest of the world's been working not to use the dollar? Dr. Jim Willey brought that up months ago. He's been writing about that. And we have Dr. Jim Willey of goldenjackass.com on for Monday. He's made some pretty big predictions. He said that we're on our way to a third world status, that the dollar is going to get hammered. We're going to have inflation like you haven't seen, on our way to third world status, that we're being isolated. Wow. We're being isolated? That's a pretty big call. and it looks like it's coming true. Dr. Jim Willie, up Monday. Thank you all for supporting the site. I think we have some of the smartest people. I've said this before, but read the comments. I am blown away how smart people are on this site, not just here in America, but from around the globe. Bravo. You help make this site great. Oftentimes I write people, thank you for adding to the content of this post. Thank you very much for weighing in. I mean, the comments are super. I learn a lot from the comments with the comments and links that people provide. Thank you very much. That's big support for the site. Also, thank you very much for those of you who've used the donations button. That helps us out. Appreciate that. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Have a good weekend. Remember, Jim Willie, up Monday on USAWatchdog.com.